All right, who's first? Klaus!
Wait. Can I laugh at this? World War II has such a tragic history that many would never dare to make Hitler and Nazism funny. Yet both Charlie Chaplin, a comedian known best for his role of the Tramp, and Taika Waititi, a Jewish and minority filmmaker, almost 80 years apart, dared to make the horrendous humorous.
It's weird now, isn't it? It shouldn't be weird between us. None of this should be weird.
This essay will look at the ways in which Hitler, the Nazis, and Jewish people are portrayed through dark comedy in a social and historical context, and why this surprising portrayal helps to affect the perspective on Nazism and Jewish culture. The Great Dictator was made in 1940, at the beginning of World War II, before most of the horrors of the concentration camps were known to the rest of the world. The Great Dictator follows two main characters, a Jewish barber and his look-alike and Hitler caricature, Adenoid Hinkle. After finding love, losing it, and laughing in between, the film ends with the barber making a speech as Hinkle where he talks of liberty and democracy. Jojo Rabbit was made in 2019, in the rise of neo-Nazism in America. It was written and directed by Taika Waititi and based off of the book Caging Skies. Jojo Rabbit is about a young German boy with an imaginary friend version of Hitler. Jojo is in the Hitler Youth and idolizes the Nazis, but after meeting a Jewish girl, Elsa, he begins to reevaluate and deconstruct his blinded nationalism. Both Charlie Chaplin and Taika Waititi use elements of dark comedy to open up the discussion surrounding Nazism and deconstruct the ignorance and monsterization of the Nazis, as well as the ideas of good and evil. Both the imaginary Hitler in Jojo Rabbit and Hinkle in The Great Dictator do not hold the same power that portrayals of Hitler often do. They are funny, they are childlike, and they are foolish. Mel Brooks, writer and director of The Producers, said in response to Jojo Rabbit that, "If you stand on a soapbox and trade rhetoric with a dictator, you never win. That's what they do so well. They seduce people. But if you ridicule them, bring them down with laughter, they can't win. You show how crazy they are."
Wir sehen, der Aryan und na, der Juden. Der Juden. Und das trifft das Sauerkraut mit der Juden.
One of the most famous scenes from The Great Dictator shows Hinkle playing with a balloon globe. Its simplicity in nature helps the scene's larger message to come across, that this Hitler caricature is more child than adult, that he is playing with a toy rather than running a country and fighting a war. Jojo Rabbit takes a slightly more literal sense of childishness, making Hitler the imaginary friend of a 10-year-old, so he is the literal 10-year-old version of Hitler. Throughout the film, he is a continued reminder of the Nazi viewpoint of ignorance and naivete.
Concentrate, Jojo. Remember, a Jew living in your world is better than two Jews flying around with their bat wings, climbing down chimneys and eating innocent Nazis.
Taika Waititi and Charlie Chaplin don't humorize Hitler to lighten the tragedies of World War II and the Holocaust. They do it to deconstruct and reveal the idiocy behind Nazism. The Nazis in the films are also shown through this childishness and ignorance. In The Great Dictator, the Nazis and their allies have a food fight after a dispute on the signing of an agreement.
Gentlemen, please.
This action is often used in school scenes, which links the Nazis to angry and irritating children. One of the specific ways that The Great Dictator shows the Nazis as childish and senseless is from the language they speak. Though it's supposed to technically be German, it's just gibberish, and often has English words, including sauerkraut and da banana. The film doesn't use German because it doesn't want to put focus on the actual Nazis and the war happening at that time. They instead want their audience to understand the stupidity and ignorance happening in Germany. By having them speak in this odd gibberish and use words that would make children laugh, the film is able to take the entire Nazi population and make them a joke instead of a fear. Jojo Rabbit uses actual children to show this, starting off the film with a weekend program run by Hitler Youth. To these children, Nazism is a game, a summer camp. This sets up the main theme of the entire film and sets in stone the childlike naivety and crudeness of Jojo. One character that I want to specifically touch on is Fräulein Rom.
Hey, Heil Hitler, everyone.
Throughout the film, she says and does terrible, horrific, and often historically accurate things.
See that American there? Just go give him a hug. Go, run! Let's go!
She is different from many of the other adult Nazi characters in that she seems to have no problem with the killing of Jews. The reason she is so important to the film is because she too is childish and laughable. As Felicia Elliott said in a piece called Comedy as Protest, comedy is significant because it's appealing. People like to laugh. If they can be made to laugh and gain some socio-political awareness at the same time, that's a powerful thing. Fräulein Rom helps to bring the Nazis off the pedestal of terrifying monsters and show the audience that they are nothing to fear, only something to laugh at. The filmmakers also deconstruct the gray area between good and evil in regards to Nazis with many of their characters. One of the best examples of child naivety in Jojo Rabbit is through Yorkie, Jojo's second best friend. Though one of the most beloved characters in the film, Yorkie is a part of the Hitler Youth and becomes a Nazi towards the end of the film. The reason the audience doesn't antagonize him is because it is made clear that he is innocent to the crimes of World War II and is not a Nazi out of evilness, but out of childish gullibility and unknowing. As Natana Slimovics, a writer for Haaretz, said in 2020, choosing to place a child at the center of the movie, a child whose main sin is being naive, allows the director to paint the boundaries between good and evil through an incessant dissonance. Yorkie makes the audience laugh with him, while other Nazi characters are laughed at.
I guess I'm just a kid in a fat kid's body.
This laughability of the Nazis is largely contrasted with the representation of Jewish people in both films. The more common portrayal of Jewish people in World War II movies are of the weak Jew. They are in need of saving and are only ever depicted as a one-dimensional victim. They have no personality or individuality, so the audience doesn't build an emotional connection. This is used to set up the savior, the main character, or to start a heartbreaking story where the Jewish person ends up dying. Both Jojo Rabbit and The Great Dictator look at Jewish people affected by the war from a different angle. In the last scene of The Great Dictator, the Jewish barber gets mistaken for the dictator Hinkle and makes a speech to the people of the movie's fake Germany. This speech asks the people to consider love and happiness instead of hate and misery, that a man's natural instinct is to help. And it's an incredibly beautiful piece.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
By ending the film this way, Charlie Chaplin is showing the strength of the Jewish people and gives hope for survival instead of marketing off of the tragedies of the Holocaust. Jojo Rabbit shows Elsa from Jojo's point of view, so instead of seeing her as weak, she is first viewed as monster-esque. Later on, she shows her true strength by grabbing Jojo and yelling at him to try to break free.
Break free. Break free, great Aryan. There are no weak Jews. I am descended from those who wrestle angels and kill giants. We were chosen by God.
By describing the Jewish people in regards to strength, this shifts the narrative perpetrated by most World War II films and tells the audience that, as Elsa said, there are no weak Jews. So, can I laugh at this? That's a confusing question, because you must first think about why you are laughing and who it is you're laughing at. But for Jojo Rabbit and the Great Dictator, laughter is protest. Taika Waititi said about Jojo Rabbit that his goal was to have his audience either be changed or to go out and want to change things. Taika Waititi and Charlie Chaplin used dark comedy in their films not to mistell the horrors of World War II, but to shift the mindset on the Jewish people and help to take Nazis and Hitler off the pedestal of evil and untouchable, showing their true forms not as monsters, but as malicious humans who can be touched, fought, and dismantled.
Fuck off, Hitler.